Hello, today I want to talk about how I demolished the Queen's Gambit. In this strategy I've been using for a little while now, it's pretty simple and straightforward, um, and I'll show you in just a moment. But this game was a pretty good, I guess, testament to how easy the Queen's Gambit is to counter once you understand like what the Queen's Gambit is attacking. But yeah, so I'll just go ahead and show you my match. They start off with the typical E4 to start the Queen's Gambit. And I start off with, oh, what is that? I'm still getting used to the tile names. C5. I go C5. I'm just picking a random pawn to go forward. I don't really care this anymore. Like, I'm just trying to, play anything and see what happens, I guess. But I play C5. They begin the Queen's Gambit, and I knew what was coming. So I went ahead and countered their uh, e4 with e5, and then they brought out the bishop. And the reason, a really good, like the main reason I bring out this pawn is so that I can bring the queen right here. And the reason why is because it defends this pawn, this square, the f7 square, and so does the king. The king defends itself. So there's no reason to like panic here. I just move the queen over to defend the square because the king defends itself as well. There's no reason to panic. This is how I typically defend against the Queen's Gambit. I move the pawn up, the king's pawn up, and then bring my queen front and center. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. There's nothing to like worry about. There's no like thinking involved. You just defend the square. Another typical move I've noticed when people play the Queen's Gambit is they play the queen and then the bishop, and then they'll bring out a knight. Um, I don't know which knight it usually is, but it's usually a knight. And usually they'll be attacking the square, this area right here. I foresaw this as well. I predicted the next move would be a knight, so I went ahead and moved this pawn up. So now these two squares are defended pretty easily. There's nothing, super complicated about that. And they move a pawn up to defend the bishop, and then release the dark square bishop. And so I saw this. I saw the dark square, and I just immediately, like, it was almost reactionary. I brought this pawn up to defend my queen because it was, out in the open. And then they block in their knight with this pawn move. I saw this, so I foresaw that their knight would be pretty much forced to go here, and so I moved my pawn here to defend this square. And it also defends against this bishop and creates an attack later. They move one of their pawns up. This complicates it a little bit, but I wasn't too worried at the moment. What was my next move? I attacked the bishop. They moved the bishop to attack my rook, which was a pretty good move. I didn't see that, admittedly. But I blocked with the knight, which was defended by the pawn. And so I saw this is new to me, but I wasn't too worried about it, but this was definitely like interesting to me. This little setup in the center here. I knew something like a pawn break was going to happen right here, and this pawn's not going anywhere. They move out another pawn. To be honest, I'm not too sure why. Oh, well, I guess to move this bishop over to create a new attack on the queen, which is understandable, but I don't know. I feel like you could have done better, like castle or something. I don't know. But I go ahead and attack the bishop through the knight, so that the knight is double protected in case I needed the pawn or something. But also it's lasering the queen as well. Um, and of course defending the rook. So they bring up the bishop this way, which now I don't even understand why they moved this pawn. It was kind of a useless move. And at this point, I knew that things were about to break. This structure was not going to last long, and if I were to castle, it might give them the time they need to make a good move. So I decided to go ahead and create the pawn break myself and save the castling for later. Because right now my bishop doesn't need defended. If anything, I could just use the pawn. But my bishop is okay at the moment, so I don't need it to castle. So I went ahead and did the pawn break. Attacked the bishop and this pawn, fork that. And they attack back. So I take the pawn because it's defended by the knight. And I began to realize how devastating this position was for white, because my knight has many opportunities to fork this queen and dodge the bishop, and that's exactly what happened. They move their bishop back to avoid the attack. I attack their queen with my knight, and it creates an attack on the bishop. Although the bishop is defended, it's still a double attack, but mainly it's on the queen. They dodge the attack with the queen, but they didn't see, and the computer actually agrees on this one, that it was a bad move. I immediately saw this move, and it happened to be really well played. So I forked the king and the queen, and he moves the queen, or the king, he dodges the attack, the check, and I don't know why that's a bad move. I'm not sure what move would have been better for him. Maybe the queen over, or the king over a square or something. I'm not really sure, but they make a bad move and move the king towards the knight, and I fork, or well, I do fork the knight and the king by taking the queen, and they take my knight back. And I saw, well, not yet. I didn't see yet. I did see the attack on the bishop, and I just went ahead and did it, because it might not have been good for me if I left it hanging. So I just traded bishops, and the knight attacks my queen. But what this does is create a really nice opening. And actually, so I guess, actually, I didn't even realize it till now. They can't take my bishop with their pawn. I don't know if he tried. I'm not sure. But he can't take it because my queen is lasering. It's pinning the pawn against the king. So they use the knight, which creates a perfect opening for my queen to attack the pawn. Check. And they defend the king with the knight. I check with the pawn. I'm not sure if there's a better idea around. I could have taken the knight. I'm not sure really what the best move here was. It wasn't the worst move, but I just went ahead and checked anyway. I just said, you know what? I'm going to check. They move the king back. I bring a pawn forward. I was preparing an attack on the knight. And they attacked my queen, so I slide it over for a check. They attack my queen again. I had a couple options here as well. I was thinking about moving my queen over to d4, possibly, and attack the rook, actually. I just noticed that. But I guess they could have easily defended that with the bishop or the knight, and that would have not been that pretty. So, really, I just decided to say, you know what, I'm going to move my queen up. So if the knight goes back, I take it. If the knight goes here, I take it. If the knight takes my pawn, I'm also defending the pawn. That move was incidental, but it was a good move. So, you know, they actually quit. They gave up. As I look at the board, I would have moved my bishop to attack the knight, castling from myself would have been really good in this position. Castling would have been one of my next moves for sure, and then attacking the knight, um, and then possibly bringing this knight out, moving my rook to defend this pawn, something along those lines. But they quit, so that is how I demolished the Queen's Gambit. I'll play it again slower. Yep. Alright. Well, thanks for watching. See ya.